We are exactly into 1 minute, 1 minute into the usual hour of 10, where we come here to go live on the United Hotspot to talk Manchester United, and there is lots of news to talk about as we do build to the return to action of this beloved club of ours as we do take on Liverpool. This time, though, not in the English Premier League, it will be the FA Cup quarter-final, but a big update we do have for you concerning an important player, Mason Greenwood, a player we all want to see back. Well, the chants should be louder now than ever, because I've been telling you that as we first get towards the summer transfer window, the decision has got to be made, and we are seeing moves being done, but these are not very popular moves, especially to the watchers and viewers of the United Hotspot. My name is Webb. Welcome aboard, and we are here to talk about Mason Greenwood and what has been revealed today. A meeting took place, and you can say it's not a secret because we've got a video. We say a video of what ensued in, of course, of this meeting taking place. We'll talk about that in a bit. But question is Manchester United finally letting go of a very important player? Are we headed toward that? Well, I'll tell you why that. But good news though is ahead of the game, there is big boosts in terms of players. Rasmus Højlund is back. He will be available for the Liverpool game. So is Harry Maguire and Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who has been a long-term absentee. But let's get proper into the news, and I do hope, I know this will not be my most popular live show because of what I'm going to talk about, but we've got to hear it. That's why we love the club. We've got to hear and listen to whatever is going on. That's the oath I took to come here and update you with everything that goes on around this club. Now, here's the thing. So the latest that has come through, a certain Spanish outlet called Gigantes, if I would pronounce it like that, I'm hoping that's the best pronunciation of it. But an outlet from Spain called Gigantes posted a video showing John Mata, the outgoing chief of Manchester United, and the director of negotiations, Matt Hargreaves, having a meeting in the Sun City with several people, including the sporting director of Barcelona, Deco. If you remember the famous Deco, the popular Deco who played for Chelsea and FC Barcelona. He is currently the sporting director of FC Barcelona. And there was a meeting between John Mata and the director of negotiations at Man U, Matt Hargreaves, and one CAA agents from what we call CAA-based agents. Now, these do not represent any player we know, obviously, or that we of course interested in. But Frank Tramboli and Fed Masai were there as well in that meeting. Now, of course, the speculations will always be there. There is no one who is privy to the information that was shared or exchanged between the two, what the discussions they had were about, but we can speculate, and it's okay to speculate in sport, because at a time like this, as we head into what you expect to be a busy summer transfer window, the first for Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos, if we say meeting between John Mata and Matt Hargreaves, who is the director of negotiations, and Deco, the Barcelona sporting director, at this point in time, certainly something is happening. They are not just meeting for coffee. They didn't fly from wherever they flew from to Sun City to just meet for coffee. Certainly, this business being discussed. And this is, of course, with the blessing of Omar Berada, John Mata, Sir Dave Brailsford, and of course, inadvertently, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, for them to proceed and have those discussions. But here is what could be the details of the discussions. And it could have been anything, really, because football is broad. But for me, I think it's one of three things. They are either having discussions about Frankie de Jong or continuing discussions about Frankie de Jong, a player that Man United has wanted to sign for the past 2 summers but failed. They could be discussing Mason Greenwood, because we've had it before. We know that Barcelona are interested to go into a bidding war with Atletico, Getafe, and all these other clubs that would want to sign Mason Greenwood on a permanent, should Man United eventually make the decision to cash in on him. 3, they could be discussing both, because I'll tell you why. Both parties have players that either sides want, and those are the details I'm going to get into. So that's why I said this may live video for a Man United lover like me. I'm not so happy. I'm not speaking about this with a smile on my face, because I do want to see Mason Greenwood back at Manchester United. But Namutebi Rita, good evening, my friends. How are you doing? That means our boy might be going to Barcelona. Let's not rush into conclusions, but I'm here to speculate. The first thing is maybe they're discussing Frankie de Jong, just Frankie de Jong, that they are discussing. Of course, we know that Eric Ten Hag has wanted Frankie de Jong for the longest time. Man United have wanted to sign Frankie de Jong. It's the player who turned us down at some point. But he seems to be a top priority for Manchester United in terms of that midfield. Remember, United is looking for a replacement for Casemiro, who without a doubt will be leaving in the summer. So it's possible that Frankie de Jong is still top on the radar. And we know that Barcelona need money. Very soon they know they will need money for the European financial fair play rules, the UEFA financial fair play rules. They will need money. They are not doing well. And Frankie de Jong is one of the top earners at the club. So there's actually been speculation before that Barcelona wanted to terminate his contract because they couldn't afford to pay him because of the Spanish regulations and of course UEFA. So it's possible that United are back interested in him and they are trying to look at a possible means of going into a deal that would make sense for United. And then United will forget about Joao Neves and all these other holding midfielders, Onana and the likes that we've been linked with. And we go straight, get Frankie de Jong and bring him to Man United. He's 26, and if he comes and partners with Kobe Mainoo, of course, that's for him. It's more experience coming in to I think he would be a good example probably for Kobe because he's an elite player. He's one of the best players in that position right now globally. Me, my issues personally with Frankie de Jong are the fact that he turned us down really. And I remember the John Matters and Richard Arnold back then spending lots of money in exchanging flights between Manchester and Europe and Spain to try and talk and convince Barcelona to release the player, but most importantly, the player to join United. And at the 11th hour, he refuses and stays at FC Barcelona. For me, that showed me that this player does not have the hunger and desire to play for Manchester United. And for me, those are not players I would want. So that's a personal, sentiment. But that's not to mean he's not a good footballer. He's a good footballer. So maybe they are still intent on signing him and they want to go into separate negotiations to try and sign him. That is one possibility. Two, there is also a possibility that we know that FC Barcelona, like I said, are interested in Mason Greenwood, and United for the longest time been interested in Frankie de Jong. Maybe United are going. They are trying to discuss, terms of a swap. Give us de Jong, we give you Greenwood, and that's it. Or give us one party gives the other a player, depending on how they each value their player, and exchange some top up in terms of cash. So that could be another option of what they could have discussed in that meeting. That again is all speculative, guys. Just note that all this I'm saying here is speculative. I'm not privy to what they spoke about. I don't know, but the meeting was there. I watched the video. Unfortunately, it's not my video. It's not a hotspot video that I would have the rights over it, but the video is there of Deco Anderson shaking hands with John Mata and Mata Greaves and some other guys, Tramboli and all these agents. Now, these agents don't represent Greenwood, by the way, because Greenwood was last represented by his dad. He wasn't there. But there is what they call power of attorney. They could have said, you know what, you go, so that we don't spark media attention. You go and speak to them. They got CAA-based agents to go and represent Greenwood on their behalf. Again, this is extremely speculative. The other third option is they could be discussing Greenwood without Frankie de Jong. That Barcelona want to buy Greenwood. Man United need cash. We know that. United needs cash for us to be able to buy players. And now that the Champions League is becoming increasingly difficult for Manchester United, then obviously we need to sell players. So we know that Greenwood, and I listened to Fabrizio Romano earlier today, confirming this, that Greenwood and Jadon Sancho players United would look at as possible players who could be sold to try and bring in some money. So could they now be making moves with the blessing of Ineos and Omar Berrada? They have told these guys, because Omar Berrada can't really come in person and work. He's still on a gardening leave, but he's still, picking calls and making things going, of course, trying to run things around, virtually. So could they have sanctioned of course, everything that is being done with transfer? That meeting between the two, you should know that was sanctioned by Ineos, obviously. Could they have told them to proceed and go and listen to an offer, to what Barcelona would be willing to pay for Mason Greenwood? Could that be the meeting? Again, that's highly speculative. So for now, let's just know about it. let's not dig so much into it because it could be anything or nothing at all. They could have just met for coffee. They could have just met for a cup of coffee, or just to catch up and reflect and talk about life. But obviously, that was a business meeting without a doubt. So Alfred Sendwe, De Jong story again. Well, like I said, I'm thinking could be one of three options, or neither, or none at all. So let's wait and see what happens. But regardless, what for me this proves is what I've been telling you. I think every day I've been building you to this moment. I've been telling you that Carrington and Man United is a big hive of activity because Ineos already started working. They are calling players and discussing their futures. And I told you the players they zeroed down, they decided that they will keep. And of course, later you've seen stories coming. After I've given you these stories come up and they are talking about how Garnacho is for a player for the project. The Varane, I told you, I don't know how long ago that Varane is most likely going to be leaving. Now it has emerged that United are seriously considering replacements for Rafael Varane. Casemiro as well. Now we are advancing. Casemiro as well. I told you a left back who is that is an emerging position as well. Then what plans are there? Then a backup striker. So it's clear now what's going on at Man United. I think now we can say we can hop onto the rebuild wagon and see whatever is going on. We can follow properly because we see it. Before, whenever I said things, there were people here who were threatening me that the things I said better happen, otherwise I would lose credibility. And I'm thinking, guys, I don't come here and speak about things from nowhere. But if I'm speculating, I'll make it clear. Like I've just made it clear to you. Whereas the video was clear, John Matter, Richard Arnold, Matt Hargreaves, and these Trambolis and the likes, the agents, were meeting with Deco. What they discussed, I'm just speculating. I don't have the information of what was exchanged between the several parties or the two parties. There were only two, Barcelona and Man United. So that's it. So it's a busy time as we head into the end of the season to try and get the right players in. Of course, the structure is on paper; it's there. We know which people are going to be running the club. The Dan Ashworth, the Omar Beradas, they're just not officially in office, but behind the scenes, we know they are working. We certainly know they are working because in his role. So that's where we are. Question is, where does this then live or take us? If these speculations are true and indeed Man United are contemplating letting go of Greenwood, then it goes back to again reports I think I should have told you about early in Jan before it's the end of the January transfer window. Top signing that Ineos have been considering a right winger, Michael Olise. We should rush back to Michael Olise. So probably Michael Olise will be waiting to hear what happens from these meetings because he's a United fan, by the way. But if the talks yield something and we see Greenwood leave, then Olise knows that there is a high chance that Man United will bid for him first in the summer because it's another top priority. The right wing is a top priority. Anthony is not in anyone's plans at Man United. Anthony is not in any of our long-term plans. He's not there. Regardless what he does between now and the end of the season, Anthony is not part of the long-term plans of the United project. Whether Eric Ten Hag stays or not, this is beyond him. And there is talk that part of the reasons why Eric Ten Hag would want to leave is because he would want to have, I think, a big say when it comes to the transfers. Of course, as a manager, you must have a certain level of say when it comes to transfers, for long as you're there, unless you've come in after a window and stuff. But I think any manager would want to have a say, and I'm sure they will allow him to have that bit of a say. I think he's warranted it. He's not really a clueless guy. He has signed players who we felt are very important. Lisandro Martinez, Casemiro, Rasmus Højlund now. He's really earned it. Whereas he got it wrong with Anthony, he got it wrong with Amrabat. Uh, you may not even really blame him that much on the players. Maybe it's the players themselves to blame for their failures, but probably he was anyone who could have fallen for them. Perhaps best you saw we were all praising Sofiane Amrabat because of that run and steal from Kylian Mbappe. I think it was in the World Cup. So you may not blame him so much. You can want to give him credit for the ones he got right. And all managers get certain signings wrong. That's without a doubt. So whether Eric Ten Hag is there or not, the reality is Anthony is not in the long-term plans of Man United and Ineos. It's not happening. So whether you bring back Greenwood or not, Anthony is not in the long time for them to learn from. That's the plan. bring a senior player for them to, after 2-3 seasons, these young players should be able to give these senior players a proper run for their money and force them out. So the young players will become the senior ones, then there will be younger players coming from the academy. That's the continuity plan that Ineos is coming up with. So for example, in the midfield, you know that you've got Kobe Maino now, who is young but is certainly senior. But he needs a more senior, more experienced player, the way he has had Casemiro to play alongside him. And that's why, whereas Joao Neves is a good player, Joao Neves, Frankie de Jong could be a better option to partner Kobe Maino, because De Jong is a little more experienced than both. Has played in Europe for Barcelona. He's a main guy for Barcelona, a top earner. In terms of build, he has made it. So probably he would be a better replacement for Casemiro slightly than Joao Neves. But I don't like the fact that he's not really United did not excite him at the first approach. That for me will always remain. It will always remain. But also even how he responds to media and speculations. I saw an interview recently where he was in the media talking about how the media say wrong things about him. A player who has got the right mentality doesn't respond to such in press conferences or to the media. So could he be also another stubborn character that we don't want in our dressing room? The guy who is going to come, because if in Spain he's going into the press to say things like that, react to rumors that he's earning 40 million or whatever, what will happen if he comes to the UK, which is the king of the media, the king of press, where every day, every minute, in every angle, you're a Man United player, they're writing things, right and wrong things about you every day. Obviously, the wrong ones would be more. Every day they're writing stuff about you. What will he do? Won't he be worse than Marcus Rashford, who goes to the media to defend his cars and his Belfast bend and whatever, trying to say people are jealous because he has got expensive rides? So, you understand? So there's that. Though I have many personal reservations about Frankie de Jong. Honestly, I hope it doesn't happen. Anyway, I hope it doesn't come. It's not. He doesn't sit well with my spirit. But again, it's not about me. It's about what's best for the club. If he's the best option for the club, he's a good player, no doubt. I imagine him with Kobe. If it clicks, our midfield could be unplayable. But yeah, so that's that's a bit of where we are. So let's talk about the other departments, because the talk of United now is mostly to do with players we are looking at. So let's talk about the central defense, because for the goalkeeper, I think it's clear there is faith now in Andre Onana, and Altel Bayindil was a bit at some point when we were all advocating for him to start ahead of Onana. He was a bit beginning to lose his stability and as if trying to think about leaving to get more playing time. But I think he has calmed down now and accepted that he will be number 2 at United and he will be okay with it. Maybe when Onana settles in, he could be used as part of the rotation. Maybe if you go back in the Champions League and all these other so many tournaments, could play the Carabao, FA Cup and all these other tournaments. But so the goalkeeping department is no headache for now, at least, because Onana is improving by the day. The other department is the centre back. Now, the options, the key options are Todibo, Branthwaite, and Anthony Silva. Those are the 3 options that Manchester United has for a centre back. And I personally, because Varane, it's clear, Varane will leave. Varane will leave in the summer. United is not going to keep him on the wages he's earning, and he won't agree on a cut down to his wages when there is Saudi Arabia waiting to pay him crazy money, perhaps more than he even earns now. So I don't think it's going to happen. So I think he will leave. Varane will leave. Maguire, if a good bid comes in, United are willing to cash in on him. If we don't get a good bid, he will stay as a squad player. But the key department that Ineos wants to solve in the summer is the centre back. Now, it has been said that I will say a report somewhere that apparently Ineos were willing to sanction a 75 million pounds approach for or bid for Jared Branthwaite. And he's a 21-year-old boy, of course, English boy. He's been, of course, around, loaned here and there, or there about young PSV and the likes. I think Blackburn. He has been loaned around by Everton since 2020. But I feel like for me that's a bit of a big fee, and I'm going to focus on the 3 options that we have. I look at him, Braithwaite, Todibo, and Anthony Silva. Braithwaite is of good age. He's 21. That's young. If we are looking to the future, I think it's good. But I'm thinking, I think we have enough promising young players that if there is a cheaper, more experienced option that is good, you would rather go for that. And that's why at the tail end, I'll tell you how I would go for I would go for Todibo of the options we have in the centre back. There's also Bremer, who I don't think will join. But uh, White is 21, played in England, of course, with Everton. And we know that Everton will want money. They have financial issues to deal with themselves. So they want money at the end of the season. They also know they're not going to finish in a good position to get serious money. But they will not be in Europe. So they know they will need money from sale of players. So White is one of their most prized assets. 75 million, which for me sounds like it's really on the high side. I think he's so expensive, whereas he's a promising talent who has been developing quite consistently. I think he's stupidly expensive. So that's one thing that knocks him out for me. But also, if we've got a solid Lisandro Martinez, who is the main centre back we are planning with to stay with for the greater good, you want to partner him with another experienced centre back as a main guy, because we've got a Kambwala who is an emerging youngster, and we know that he has got signs to be a good centre back. So instead of bringing another 21-year-old to be the main guy with a 19-year-old Kambwala as the backup, why not bring a more experienced Todibo, who probably will be will compete high, is competing highly, first of all, with Niche in the French league. But he's played longer. He has been around to Barcelona and the likes. He's 24, which is a good age. I feel like Todibo comes with more presence, more maturity, but also the fact that he can also play as a right back. So he's not only a partnership on the right hand side of the central defense with Lisandro Martinez on the left. He's also as if a backup for Diogo Dalot on the right in the event that there is an issue. Maybe Dalot is injured, then he can push on the right, and we have probably Harry Maguire, if he stays, coming in the centre back, or Lindelof in the central defense with Lisandro Martinez. Yeah? Because we don't know what Wan-Bissaka we are going to have. And even for Wan-Bissaka, we're not sure if he's staying. He could leave, by the way. It's highly possible that he could leave. So for me, I think Todibo, and then Todibo, the other advantage with Todibo is that besides his build, his height and everything, and the age being a little better than the 21 for Braithwaite, he's cheaper. He would cost us no more than 45 million pounds from Niche. Between 30, it's said between 30 and 45 million pounds. That's thereabout. Now compare that to a 75 million pounds Braithwaite. I think for me, I would go for Todibo. He's a little more experienced, cheaper, leaves us more cash because the Champions League is looking increasingly difficult, meaning we won't have so much money to spend around, or to throw around. So it leaves us with more cash to sort other departments, because there are so many departments we've got to solve. The other player is Anthony Silva, who is not spoken about a lot. His has not been so popular, but I think his issue, it's the same with Braithwaite. The reasons why he's good, he's tall, built. The Portuguese also plays for Benfica as Joao Neves, but he's 20. That's one. He's young, and the buyout clause is insane. He's priced at about 100 million euros. That's close to 80 million pounds. Now, think about it, and you're saying, why spend 80 million on another 20-year-old player when you have Kambwala, who is a proper growing player we think can be good for the future of United? Why spend all that on him? So you'd rather, whereas it's a key position to solve for United, I actually don't think for me it's the most important position, because whereas we need good centre backs, I think we need, if we have a good midfield, a good attack, we don't need extremely amazing, very expensive centre backs. You can't spend 75 million pounds on a centre back. I don't think that would be right business. It's I think giving the role too much importance for no reason. That's what I think. Edward Musumba, Manchester United need an extra striker, right winger, a ball-playing midfielder, and solid centre-back. Bruno should have a competitor who can keep him on the bench. United should not pay above the market. Brilliant, brilliant, Edward Musumba. Brilliant. I love everything you've said. First of all, I hope Erik ten Hag does not look at Mason Mount as the backup for Bruno, or the competitor for Bruno. It's possible that he is, because that's probably why he brought him in. but it's not seeming to work. I will have a show about Mason Mount at some point to try and let him first be fit and return, which is soon after the international break. He should return. So Mason Mount, I want to see how he fits into whatever we're building. I want to see it properly because it's important that he fits into what we are building. Otherwise, Eric Ten Hag will be exposed, badly exposed. So Mason Mount could be that person to push to push Bruno. But there are also other players who can play there. I think, for example, of course, they may be young and not at his level, but players like Ahmad can play through the middle, can play as a number 10. Of course, Greenwood now looks they are planning to offload him. I also think, I've said this time and again, and I will keep saying it without fear. I would want to watch a game where Kobe Maino is playing number 10. I would want to watch one game where Kobe Maino is playing number 10 and just see how it works. I don't know why in my heart of hearts, I feel like Kobe can be a very good number 10, can remind us of Zinedine Zidane if he was played as a number 10, or even Kaka, of course, a different mold of Kaka. That's what I think he can be a good number 10. Better, 10 times better than Bruno could be. But that's, of course, entirely on me studying him and how smart he is and how he plays and the way he is with the ball, the things he does. When he gets in the final third, he's extremely dangerous. You saw the goal he scored against Wolves. You saw the pass he gave Garnacho at some game. I forget which team we were playing. Those are things you expect from a number 10. We want from a number 10, and there are things you don't see a lot with Bruno. Those are things you see more with done by players like Ozil and the likes. I would want to see him committed more in that hole behind the striker to see what he would do playing behind Højlund with Garnacho on one side, in my dreams Mason Greenwood on the other. But of course now it would have to be Michael Olise most probably. But I still have faith and hope that Mason Greenwood could return. I would want to see Kobe Maino as the number 10, honestly. So you speak of someone to compete with Bruno. Maino could push Bruno out of that position if he was given a chance in that number 10 role. Manchester United need an extra. Yes, we need another striker, obviously. And again, I will do a show on the striker. My favorite, I think, with the conditions we are in, has always been Sahu Girassi. He's not spoken about enough. He's cheap and all, but he's a different mold. He's tall. He's as tall as Højlund. He's good on the ball. His drifts, I think he would be a cheap, able option who can come. He's also older than Højlund. He's 27. So I would still think he's good. I think Sahu Girassi can score goals in the Premier League. I think he can even push Højlund further. Very well, I think so. But we'll talk about that one, of course, as well as we go along. So then you spoke about the right winger. Yes, the right winger. The best option would be bring back Greenwood. But if he's not, then Michael Olise seems to be the one that Ineos are looking at. And then solid centre back, I would go for Todibo. So for me, my picks are Todibo and the left back. I don't think you mentioned the left back, but I think we need a left back, and we'll get one. I think even Ineos knows it is something that has just emerged because clearly the two we have are rotten feet. So my choice would be Todibo for centre back. Midfield, I would still go for Joao Neves, whereas I said Kobe Maino would need a more experienced player, would use a more experienced player to learn from. I don't think there is so much for Kobe Maino to learn from anyone. He's just a special player who can learn and improve by playing games every day. But I love Joao Neves. I love his skill, his speed, his flair, his everything. He's good. I love him. So I would go for Joao Neves if you can get him for cheaper than the 100 million they're overpricing him. So Joao Neves, Todibo in the back, Joao Neves. Then on the right, Greenwood back. Then up top, the backup, the replacement for Anthony Martial, I would go for Sahu Girassi. Those are for me the first options. The left back, I'm going slow on the left back. I want to say someone, I will stand here and defend. I'm still doing my proper research. I'm watching. I've not been paying a lot of attention to left backs. I've not been giving them, and that's to be honest. I did not. I thought Luke Shaw was, in the good age. I thought there was a chance he would get back. Malaysia is promising, but the injuries they are having for Luke Shaw, that one is done. Luke Shaw will not play serious football again. Malaysia, that the length of his injury, I think he's also following Luke Shaw's trail. The length of his injury is dangerous. Even if he recovers, it will take him a long time to get back to good levels. So we cannot wait that long. So we need a serious left back to come directly and be a starter, young but also proper starter. So I'll get a proper name. I have some names in mind, but they're not ripe. They are not yet ripe for me to come out here and go into them. But all the departments we're looking at, I think the one department where I think we might then the other the other one that could come at a cost is the right winger, which cost I felt we should be able to dodge by bringing back Greenwood. But I think the Greenwood thing is very difficult. Honestly, it's very difficult for us to see him back, painfully. But it's probably the case. So that's a bit of the transfer talk, guys. Still early days to go deep into the transfers because there is a couple of months for us to go. There are more games for us to focus on. We've got a Liverpool to play. That is on Sunday. Knock them out of the FA Cup, and we get proper into title mood or trophy mood, if I would call it. So let's shift more on the squad. Let's shift again on the squad. So Bruno Fernandes, the penalty he scored recently, just a few days ago against Everton, was his 29th, becoming the all-time top penalty scorer in the history of Manchester United. He surpassed Ruud van Nistelrooy, who scored 28, and Wayne Rooney, who had 27. So that's Bruno Fernandes for you when it comes to penalty. Then, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo had, I think, 21. He follows Rooney with 21. So you can see, and his came in 122 games, 222 games, whereas Ruud van Nistelrooy's penalties came in 219 games. So that's how important Bruno is, because I mean, penalty takers are not seen everywhere. It's not so easy to play penalties. More so if you're playing in this dilapidated Manchester United squad, it's always going to be a hard paper. So that's a good record. I thought we needed to respect Bruno for. I feel like Bruno lately is beginning to come back. I thought against Man City he tried to put in some decent shifts. The assist he made to Marcus Rashford, and then the Everton game I thought he played decently well. So maybe he's beginning to come back. But realize that, especially for the Everton game, the reason he looked a bit calm and more comfortable is because he was playing more of a decentralized role. He was not all over the place as usual, as he has always been under Erik ten Hag. He was not as all over the place as we were used to him. So, good thing to see that. That's a bit of credit to Erik ten Hag probably for playing him rightly. And you see that when he's played rightly, he performs a little better because he's calmer and more confident. Very important. So Anthony is trending again. This trolling, I'm not part of this trolling. Seriously, I will not be a part of this trolling of Anthony. So Michael Olise chose Manchester United. He's a fan of Manchester United, and he has apparently chosen to play for Manchester United, which should be a good thing because he's not a bad player. Bad for those of us who want Greenwood back. That said, I think I'm done. It's time for my treatment. I must have said most of the things I wanted to say. I think I've said most of the things I wanted to talk about. I'm going to wish you a good night. Tonight's show is a bit short because I'm trying to recover. Let me just rest my voice for the days coming. I want by the time we get to Sunday, the Liverpool game, my voice is as sharp as they come, so that I shout my vocal cord out talking about this very important game. The one thing I'm excited to watch between Man United and Liverpool is Højlund and Van Dijk. I think for me, I've said it before that if you put Højlund in Man City, he would score perhaps 100 goals a season, fair and square, and I mean it. And I know it's unheard of a player scoring 100 goals, but with the way this Haaland is scoring goals at City, trust me, Højlund, who I think is a 2 times better footballer than Haaland, put him in that Man City team, he would score 2 times more. But for him to prove that, he has got to prove that he can beat Van Dijk, who pocketed Haaland when they played Liverpool, Man City. So for me, I'm excited. I hope he's 100% fit. But a half-fit Højlund is better than a fully fit Erling Haaland. The reason Højlund is not scoring goals, we have already seen, is because of the people he's playing with. But Højlund is a proper bowler, and I have no doubt he will be our next greatest striker after Wayne Rooney, or even surpass him. Extremely possible. He has got everything it takes for him to be. He's even left-footed. That's an edge he has got over him. He's even left-footed. We left-footed players are always special. We are especially gifted. So I'm excited for that. But I'll be here back tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think on the night show tomorrow, we'll talk about the left back probably, or the strikers, the options we have in the striking department, in the case there is no other major story to confuse us. But of course, I expect something from United as well in terms of team news. But I'll give all of that to you tomorrow. For now, that's it. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good night. I will catch you again next time.